Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference series being organized in partnership with the ACCESS Employment. Let's just give this a minute or two and we'll start as participants are entering the meeting. Just give us a couple of minutes here. So let's get started. Welcome to the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference series being held in partnership with the ACCESS Employment. This industry-specific web conference for internationally educated information technology professionals will be recorded and posted on our website to watch for those of you who cannot attend in person or if you're not able to stay for the full event. So before, I'm Ramya Ramanathan. I'm the editor of Canadian Immigrant Magazine, and I'm here with my colleague, Laura Jackman, who is responsible for marketing with the Canadian Immigrant. So before we start our sessions with our first speaker, we have a video to share from one of our sponsors, Western Union, who supports Canadian Immigrant and allows us to run these free events and webinars for newcomers across the country. So Laura, please go ahead with the video. Laura, you may have to play it again because the volume's not.
Hi, Jasmine. It's your brother here. I'm sending a little money home to help that dream of yours become a reality.
When you send money, you send more than money. Western Union.
So let's get started. I'm thrilled to introduce our first speaker today, joining us from ACCESS Employment, Wilfred Sam King. Hi, Wilfred. Hello again.
Hello.
We're thrilled to have you here. And Wilfred is the project manager, IT connections and cloud computing at ACCESS Employment. So if you have any questions for Wilfred, feel free to type it in the chat box or the Q&A box, and we'll go to those questions at the end of Wilfred's presentation. And if you're unable to access the chat box, you can also email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So Wilfred, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you. And first and foremost, I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank the Canadian Immigrant team for having me here. Like I said, my name is Wilfred Sam King. I'm the project manager here at ACCESS for the IT and cloud computing programs. There are two bridging programs, and before I get started, just a little bit about myself to lay the foundation why this work is important to me and why I love what I do. So, like uh, like Ramya said, I'm from ACCESS, one of the greatest organizations I've ever had the pleasure to work with. I'm originally from Sierra Leone. I was born in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and I immigrated here under refugee status, and I grew up actually in the prairies under Treaty 1 territory.
How old were you? I'm curious.
I was 6 when I
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to turn myself and stop talking here. Okay.
No, by all means, I love the interaction. So interrupt those Q&As are if you have a thought, just type it in right away. Hopefully we'll get through it at the end of the presentation. But Um, Growing up, I loved technology, but I was also athletically gifted. So when I was in university, I had Olympic aspirations, and I became a professional athlete, and that absorbed a lot of my time. But throughout my schooling and things, I kept my ear on the floor about technology. So I consider myself a technologist, a social entrepreneur, marketer, public speaker, and community leader. And when I had the opportunity to join the Access team, it really stood out to me because I thought about what if my mother had some of these programs, some of these resources when we first landed in Canada. She was an educated international professional, but like most of you here listening, is once you come here, sometimes your credentials aren't honored the same way, and that's really difficult. So when when it came time to join Access, and I could bridge the gap between what was and try to build a path, or uplift or amplify the voices of so many of you, it was a no-brainer to join this incredible organization that's Access. So to get started, what you're here for is to hear about our programming. So Access's mission and vision is a fully inclusive labor force. So essentially, instead of you coming here and hoping to get into a survival job, or unpaid internship or things like that, we kind of do it a little bit differently at Access. We say, okay, you have all these skills. And in university, I have an economics background, and they always talk about labor inefficiencies. Canada has a major labor inefficiency issue. And one of those issues is we have these fantastic minds that come here and then are put into maybe a junior or a customer service role, whereby they were building critical pieces of infrastructure within the IT field wherever they came from. So Access's mission and vision is to bridge those gaps to make sure you are prepared to enter the job market. We also have a bunch of other resources: starting your job search, mentoring support, starting a business, women in the workplace, language, youth in the workplace, and of course, pre-arrival programs that you can tap into. As the manager for cloud computing and IT, I oversee those two portfolios, but within the bridging and within the Access ecosystem, there's numerous amounts of resources that you can tap into if you're not necessarily eligible for the programs that I oversee. So the Canadian digital economy, what's going on? So under the moderate digital economic growth, the Canadian digital economy will see a demand for more than 305,000 digitally skilled workers, and employment will continue to increase almost to a million. Within the entire IT sector within Canada, it's extremely fast growing. And in 2020, as we all know, when everyone was scrambling to go online, there's over 1.5 million ICT professionals, and ICT stands for Internet or Internet Communications, or sorry, Information Communications Technology professionals. I'm getting my acronyms a little confused. 63% of these workers work in non-ICT related sectors of the economy, while 37% work directly in it. So what does that mean? It means, as you know, technology does not really have boundaries. It can go anywhere. It can go to any industry, from sports to law to culture to arts. Everywhere needs information technology professionals. Most of them are within the professional, scientific services, construction, and of course, finance field. So the IT sector has a very low unemployment rate, and we can understand why. As soon as we went through, or when the pandemic shifted, everything had to move online. And because of that, it has around a 2.8% unemployment rate, essentially unchanged from 2.7. If anything, it's getting lower and lower. And in talking to a lot of our our participants that come through our program. Some of them start the program and they get hired while they're doing the program, which is a really amazing thing, because that's what we're here for. We're trying to get these internationally trained professionals into meaningful careers that they want to be in. And it's forecast to grow by 2%. So let's talk about money. Of course, as many people know, the IT sector does compensate quite competitively. These are just some numbers for product managers. These are the medians found on talent.com. So these are some of the most common roles that people that come through the program get afterwards. And these numbers are quite accurate. I believe last year, we go by a fiscal year. Our reporting showed around 84,000 for the average salary for the people that left our program. That doesn't mean everybody gets 84,000. There's some people that have PhDs in data science and things like that, that, you know, once people know what they can do, they get scooped up and everything. But for the most part, most people are around that 84,000 mark. So cloud computing is a specialized field within the IT sector, and that median is obviously going to be a little bit higher, because once again, the more specialized you are, the less people that can do what you can do, the more, if you think of it from a supply and demand point of view, the more you get compensated accordingly. So what are employers looking for? They're looking for core technical skills, experience with specific applications or platforms. So Windows, Linux, Mac OS, whatever operating system, you should at least have some form of an understanding before you jump into one of our programs. But most of our participants far exceed my capabilities. So experience with the specific business process. So once again, whether it's agile, whether it's within a scrum pattern, essential communications and team working skills. So we spend a lot of time here at ACCES making sure you are well-rounded. A lot of our participants already have all the technical skills and they can start working like this. But when you come into the Canadian workforce, it is a little bit difficult because there's social and cultural differences that you may not be aware of. For instance, the other day, I was with one of my cohorts in the cloud computing program, and he said, I've been spending the last 4 months applying for the wrong position, and I was wondering, why am I not getting any callback? And it was a simple thing as what they called his work back home is not what it was considered here. So he was literally applying for the wrong positions that had basically nothing to do with his actual skill set. And it's simple things like that. The names, the terminology is a little bit different. How do you speak? The power distance in Canada and North America from your manager, even your CEO, is a lot smaller compared to many other countries. What does that mean? So another participant said, I did find a job and I thought it was great going well, but then I got let go when they were laying off people, and I asked, why did I get let go? And their manager said, well, we don't really think you like working here. You don't interact, you don't speak. And he said, back home, you should only speak to your superiors if you are spoken to. So those cultural things, whereby here, there's a massive emphasis on connecting, on talking, on social gatherings. I don't know how many social committee, every organization that I've worked for has a social committee, because that's very, very important to workplace culture. You'll also hear the word fit a lot when interviewers are talking or recruiters are talking. Is that person the right fit? So about our information technology program, like I said, it helps internationally trained professionals find careers in Canada. It helps participants in the IT sector with standards, terminology, tips on how to enhance their job search, provides connection. Your network is your net worth. And if you don't grow up here in Canada, it becomes extremely difficult to build that network. And sometimes you will be knocking on doors, and it's just an unfair advantage for the most part. But what Access does, it opens you up to our networks. If you came through to one of my programs, you would have access to my network as well. And that's an opportunity that a lot of these internationally trained professionals unfortunately don't get. And I won't give up too much, but within the program, we talk about the hidden job market. And what the hidden job market is, just to give you a quick synopsis, is there's the jobs that you see online, but even the jobs are posted. It might be HR policy to post that job. They may already have an internal candidate that is ready to move into that role. They may even have a referral that's ready to move into that role. So even though they post it, they may post it there for 2 weeks as part of an HR policy, but they already have people in mind. You want to be one of those people in mind. You want to be one of those people that are referred to that position. And a referral is far stronger. Whenever I'm hiring, if someone refers me, that person that is referred goes right to the top of my recruiting and attention. So you want to be part of that. That's why networking on LinkedIn is so important. And it's not a numbers game, it's a connection game, building strong connections. And we go through that within the program as well. So what do our graduates look like from our program? So 87% of clients are employed in their field. 13% either maybe they returned home, they may have started families, or maybe it's not a right time for them to find employment. Of those 87%, 85% are actually employed at the same level as they were back home. 10% are employed at a higher level, and 5% are employed at a lower level from where they were back home. So who's hiring these fantastic internationally trained professionals? You'll see a few Fortune 500, you'll see big banks, you'll see numerous organizations up here. But once again, that's part of our network. Every day I get a large list of roles that are open, people that want to work with Access, and technology is one of the most popular needs right now. People migrating their servers or just need someone that understands the terminology, that world, as a consultant or business analyst or whatever it may be. Recent graduate roles, so BI developer, business analyst, cloud engineer, consultants, data scientists, basically everything and anything. So program components. So we have that job search component where we really work on your soft skills, your resume critique, your interview prep. We also have a Canadian workplace and culture, employers' expectations. So we've actually partnered with TMU, formerly called Ryerson University, and we go through a business communications component whereby, let's say you do get the job, but now maybe you did get the role that is not at the level that you know you can be at. How do you bring that conversation up with your manager? How do you bring up a conversation with your manager saying, I want your job actually because I think I can do it better than you? Obviously, you don't say it like that, but you make it a little bit more eloquent. And what we do is we help you have these tough conversations. We help you also, what is appropriate for email, what is appropriate for in person, and all those things like that. So we also have experiential learning. We partnered with Accenture to have mentorship. So that is a resume critique and mock interviews where you actually get to speak to one of the Accenture employees to help you critique your resume. So you have an industry leading professional looking at your work. You can ask them questions about your profile, your tech, your skill set, and where you want to be at. Workplace essential skills, future skills, one-on-one support, connections to employers, online learning, and job search. So for cloud computing, it's essentially the same thing. The only difference is you receive an AWS certification. Once again, because it's specialized, so we do upskill in that program. In the IT connections, there is upskilling with the safe agile components, but with IT connections and cloud, the other big distinction with them all is when you come into the um, IT program, you typically are ready to enter the workforce right away, no hesitation. There's no large gaps in your resume. Whereas the cloud computing, maybe you were a IT professional back home, but then you started a family or something happened and you've been out of the world for a little bit, and now you want a certification or a designation that says, "Hey, my skills are up to snuff. They're ready to go," and you want to enter the workforce that way. So optional components, design thinking, scaled agile as well. Program components, like I said, the job search, comprehensive skills, resume writing, networking, interview skills, curricular. The curriculum has been designed with consultation with our advisory council, which is leaders in the IT space within Ontario. The essential mentorship, I already spoke about it. Carefully reviewing your resume and getting you ready for interview prep as well. Employer connections, we have employers come in, do presentations for the AWS because it is a partnership with Amazon. The instructors are the ones that are actually guiding the teachings, learnings, and things like that. But AWS comes in as well to do a recruitment session whereby they let you know exactly what they're looking for. They let you know the process of joining AWS, Amazon Web Services, and they let our participants are within our cohort know exactly, okay, well, we think you should apply for this position, etc. Which, once again, is just an opportunity so many do not get when they come newly to the country. So workplace communication, like I said, that's with TMU, formerly called Ryerson. There's also an experiential learning component within the IT Connections program. Right now, we're working with the Canadian Mental Health Association, and we're helping migrate, or we're helping them with a big technology project, which is incredible because you can not only use that on your resume, they have also allowed you to say you have worked with the CMA, but there's multitude of organizations that we partner with for that experiential learning piece. So when you do get asked in that job interview, what is your Canadian experience, you can say you worked with this organization, this organization. So we think that's a very, very important part for the experiential learning. Essential workplace workshops. So this is helping you know how you think, what environment you would thrive best in. Once again, fit is a two-way highway, a two-way street, meaning you want to make sure you're in the right organization. And they want to make sure the right people come to the right organization. It might be right for them, but it might not be right for you. And I know when you're going through that job search, there is a little bit of scarcity, but you want to be somewhere where you can build. You want to be somewhere where you can grow or learn or simply just be happy. Obviously, if it's better than your survival job, you're like, I can get through this for the next 2 years or the year or so, and then start looking again. I completely understand, but make sure you understand that you are going into an environment whereby you're not miserable going into work every day. So we also offer some online learning tools. So there's Skills Build and LinkedIn Learning. I don't know if any of you are on LinkedIn, but there's always those ads. Oh, there's this new course, there's this new certification, this, that, da, 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 da. So we offer that for free. The IBM Skills Build is a partnership with IBM as well that we're extremely proud of. And this is probably what sets us apart from different organizations and what I am also extremely proud of. So you got the job, you're doing well in your role. Now what? We want you to continue to succeed. We have many graduates and alumni that have entered an organization and now are senior managers or executives. And this is amazing because if you graduate from our program, you can call us, you can email us, and you can say, hey, Wilfred, there's this role opened up, and I really, really think I'd be great at it. I will say, okay, fantastic. Why don't you have a conversation with one of our coaches? So we have a business communication coach, and we also have a business or future skills coach as well. So helping you plan your career trajectory. Once again, you want to grow, you want to enjoy what you're working on. So once you leave the program, that's not it. You'll still be in contact with us. We still want to hear about all the amazing things that you're doing. So for IT Connections, you have an opportunity to get your Safe Agile training. So that is 4 designations at no extra charge beyond the program. So that is your lead Agile, your product owner, product manager, your advanced Scrum Master, and your DevOps. For cloud computing, like I said, you get your solutions architect, and that is one of the most sought after cloud designations. And for those that aren't familiar with the cloud, essentially everything runs on the cloud. It's a virtual server instead of way back when where you'd have an entire server room with all your information. So what AWS did is they said, you know what? Not every organization has the money to scale their servers, which means storage or run complex information or data. So why don't we just build it all and then we sell it a la carte, meaning per use as they use it. So this has evolved. If you want to know what's on the cloud, that is things like Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, anything that you can think of is typically on the cloud, of course. So program eligibility, you have to either be a permanent resident, a convention refugee, a refugee claimant status with a work permit valid for at least 1 year. You have to be an internationally trained professional who became either a Canadian citizen but has not been able to work in the field that they worked in back home. So for IT, you need a minimum of 3 full years of work experience within the IT field. With cloud computing, it's basically the entirety of the same, but you need a minimum of 1 year full-time work experience within the IT field. And once again, like I said earlier, the gaps are a little bit more reasonable, or so, it's okay to have a gap within the cloud computing because you're upskilling a little bit, whereas the IT connections, it's a little bit more difficult because you may not have the most up-to-date information within your field. So delivery or locations, what's great about this, it's fully online. The cloud computing is 6 weeks. The IT connections is about 5 weeks. The next sessions are starting for both cloud and ITC on October 24th. The info sessions are going to be Tuesday and Wednesdays respectively up until that date. And then after that, the next IT session will be January 23rd. So if any of you are interested, I'll share my information at the end of this. But we also have Employment Ontario services. Let's say you're once again, like I said at the beginning, maybe you're not eligible, maybe you're not a PR or refugee claimant or a refugee or a Canadian citizen. There's tons of resources that we still help you: effective job search, one-on-one employment counseling, ongoing job search, retention support as well. So these are just testimonials to make us smile and are really exciting. The other component too that I didn't touch on is we help you with negotiating your initial salary or contract, or even future salaries and contracts. And there was a story just last week of one of our participants that was looking for a job for almost 6 months after arriving. She almost gave up. She came through our program, and we told her, don't ever take that first offer. and they gave her a very, very generous salary. It was about six figures, and she said I was so nervous, I was so scared, but she countered. She went online. She looked at the industry standards. She looked at her experience. She countered, and she ended up getting around $10,000 to $15,000 more annually. And for all of us that know this, or for all of us that send money back home, that those increments, big or small, make a massive, massive, massive difference. So once again, we're also funded by the Canadian government, the Ontario government, Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada, Employment Ontario, and United Way. Our other sponsors, our corporate sponsors, are Accenture, BDC, BMO, CPA, Propel, Pearson, RBC, Starbucks, TD. So thank you all so much. I've been seeing a few questions pop up, so I am more than willing now to hear some of those questions. And welcome everyone who just arrived. I saw that the number has grown as well. Okay.
Hi, thank you so much for an excellent presentation. Sorry, I was on mute. I'm talking and I'm on mute. Sorry about that.
Bye. Thank you.
So we have a whole lot of questions. Let's see where to start. Okay. Can you? Okay, so this is for people who are overseas. The question is, can you touch upon any pre-landing services ACCES offers? Can people access the services from ACCES from overseas?
That's sorry. Can you hear me now? Let's say
Yeah, yeah.
after 3 years, we would think we would be Zoom professionals and savants by now. Hopefully, someone built some AI whereby as soon as you start talking, it knows that you're talking to the cat. Anyways, that's an idea for the developers on the call right now. So there's about two or three streams that you can go to. So let's say you're abroad and you're thinking about coming to Canada. So you can contact us for information about what it's like to work in Canada, get some pamphlet, general information. Let's say now you get approved for your permanent residence or your refugee claimant or whatever it may be. We can immediately actually start serving you before you even land because we do know you're actually coming. The other stream is kind of a mixture of both. You know that your application's in process, you've already submitted all your documentation, and you want to hit the ground running as soon as you come. Because a lot of people, they think, I land, I gotta work. I'm not saying I understand everyone's situation or circumstances, but those first few months are pivotal periods of time. And if you do have support or resources, you should absolutely be more patient into running into a survival piece because once you start working, it may it just never really stops, So if you can take some time, maybe join one of our programs, maybe even just learn more, go out, talk to people, try to understand the culture a little bit better. I would absolutely recommend that instead of just jumping into the workforce right away. Understand it a little bit. If you already have a good idea, absolutely try your best. But those are kind of the three streams. So if you just want general information, feel free to contact us. If you've already been approved for your PR, we could probably start helping you right away. Especially if you're in Ontario specifically, and if you're waiting on your application status, but it's probably going to come soon, you can also contact us, and that one is on a case by case basis.
I liked what you said about focusing on a job search so you get something that really suits your qualifications. But my question is, what if, can you work part-time? Can you like take 10, 20 hours a week? Because yes, finances are always a concern when you move to a new country. And can you still access services?
Yeah, yeah. It's that's what's amazing are all the throughout all the madness after the last 3 years, we've been able to build some really robust remote learning components. Uh, and I'm gonna go left before I come back to you. What's happened is for the first time in our programs, we're actually able to have about 50% women, 50% men in our technology programs. And it's no surprise, it's because we now offer it online. So we are flexible, but like anything else, what you put in is what you get out. So if you're working but you're still online, maybe it's you're on your headphones. I'm not sure. I had we had a gentleman who was in one of our previous cohorts, and he was an Uber driver. And what he would do is he'd put in his headphones, and he would be driving. And whenever he could participate, he would unmute himself, kind of like a phone call, and then he would have that conversation because he had to take care of his family, but afterwards, he was able to find a really great job, and now he doesn't have to drive Uber, but he chooses to for an extra side of income. But he has this great day job that he enjoys, and so it's definitely what you put in and what you can do. Everyone's situation is going to be a little bit different, so I can't
Mhm.
sit and act like I know your entire situation, but
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I know someone who was in that situation who, is a close friend. The other thing that I would advise, is to get your certifications evaluated because go to WES and already know what the equivalency is in Canada. So you can start off saying, this is, my qualification here. This is the how it's recognized, and that really helps. That really helps move you forward, right? Wouldn't you agree? It's
no, I do, and we do request your West assessment. And back to what I said, you may not have the same names or classifications for the roles that you did back.
exactly.
So getting that information is extremely important. If I was applying for chef de la maison, which I think is like French for head something,
Chef, yes.
but I thought I was a cook. That those are two different things. So definitely knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the more power for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. And to get any of this information, equivalency, WES, Google, just Google and everything comes up. So you don't even need links from us for a lot of things. So here's another question. I have two MBAs, so two certifications supporting my business admin IT management degrees. I'm working on industry certificates, but hitting a wall applying for jobs here in Canada. Any advice on applying while studying and certifying for industry IT certifications? So,
Yeah. So this is one of the most common questions we get when people join the program
mhm.
because they want access to our network, and then they say, you know what, I don't need anything else. So what's probably going on is it might be your resume. It might be the positions you're looking at. It may also be you might be overqualified for some positions, and you're just getting your resume passed on. Um, there's multitude of reasons. You have two MBAs, so are are your MBAs, have you certified them here? If you have, fantastic. The other component too is what does your job search journey look like? Because for someone like you, typically it's a recruiter that is finding you versus you finding them, depending on what level you are applying for. If you're going for a senior or executive level because of your background, that recruitment process is going to look much different than for a junior or middle manager position. So you have to ask yourself, what kind of roles am I looking for? Once you figure out what kind of roles you're looking for, the next piece is I would adapt your LinkedIn, I would adapt your resume to speak about those roles. Your education is still going to be relevant because you have so much of it. But if you keep certifying, and you don't have any work, a lot of organizations are going to look at that and they're going to say, well, there's there's just no applicable work here. There's a lot of theoretical work. You're really good at going to school. You're really good at studying. You're really good at finishing courses. But can you do the job? And then that's where, once again, those soft skills, the fit comes in. Is this person that we bring into their organization, are they going to be positive? Are they going to be a good manager? Because by your credentials, I'm just hearing the chances of you having to manage other people are going to be extremely high if you have two MBAs. So what there is a little bit of a bigger risk, because if they bring in the wrong person and everyone says, I don't like this person, and then leaves, that's not worth it. But if they bring in the right person, who I think you are, I don't know you, but the fact that you're putting yourself out here, you're here today, I think you're taking the right first step. If they bring you in, and then now you're facilitating your team here and then training them to eventually be in your role, or new leaders, of course. But it's tough to say. Like I've already said this before. The nice thing is we go case by case. We figure out what you're doing, we figure out what we can improve, and then we get you prepared for the workforce.
Great. Thank you for that very comprehensive answer. And next question. Is there a program for some people that want to pivot into IT, starting from basic? You just shared the salaries, and I'm thinking, that could be me. So please, let us know how to do this.
So I don't have a technical background. I'm on the people side, but absolutely. So how I kind of started, I built a course for aging adults, whereby it was just basic things, teaching them how to get online and on the internet, what is an app versus uh, um, a web form, or um, a website, and all the things that we may take for granted. Um, because unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of programs for aging adults. And so, in saying all that, there's tons of programs, tons of courses. Cloud computing is one of those as well. If you understand technology, you can definitely do it, because it's more about the mythology of it, the building of it. For those who have zero technology background, there's two programs, not my programs, unfortunately, but there's two programs. There's our Women in Technology, which is fantastic. We start from scratch. It's a self-paced program where you get to learn how to either code, or DevOps, or Scrum, or whatever it may be. And then there's our Microsoft Skills course, where similar, it kind of creates your own learning pattern, and that's with my counterpart um, under her portfolio. So if you're interested in either of those programs, if you are new to technology and you just want to get into technology, you want to get your feet wet a little bit, that's definitely an opportunity. If you're under 30, we also have, it's called the Youth Accelerator Program. Once again, it's similar to the other two, where we actually, and it's quite amazing, because we actually try to find you wherever you want to work. For instance, there was this woman, she wanted to help create video games. And she was a very nice young lady, and she said, I really want to help create video games. So what we did is we matched her with one of these video game companies, and then because of the funding for the Youth Accelerator program, we were actually able to pay her a small salary as well as she learns on the job. And those opportunities are crucial when you are either first coming or you're from a vulnerable community. And so, like I said, the ecosystem of access is massive. So if you do want more information, browse our websites, see what you like, and you all have my email now. I can't say I will be able to respond immediately, but I'll definitely have someone contact you if I don't have the answers.
Mm-hmm. So if someone is starting from the very basic, is this just for newcomers? Or, I've been here for 15 years, I decide to stop being a journalist and I sign up to your program. Will you still accept me? I've been here 15 years.
Do you have a technology background?
No, starting from basic. Anyway, we'll discuss this offline,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know what? Career changing is very like my actual background is I'm a marketer by trade, so business and marketing. But I always loved technology, so that's my education. But I was like, you know what? Tech is where I want to be. If there's a little bit of marketing sprinkled in, then we'll be okay as well. So
Okay.
it's definitely not too late. It's definitely not too late.
Okay. So your programs are for newcomers and immigrants, right? Specific programs. Okay, good.
And citizens as well. So let's say you are already a Canadian citizen, but back home you were working in technology, but when you came here, you jumped into a survival job and you've been working maybe to put the kids through school and everything like that. And then you're like, you know what? I was a developer. Maybe I want to start doing that again. So you're eligible as well.
Okay, that's great. We have a lot of questions coming in. I'm just going to ask you 2 questions. You have probably a minute to answer each question, and then okay. So I arrived in Canada under the CUAET program. Can I participate in this program?
I'm not sure what the CUAT program is, but
okay.
If you are a permanent resident or refugee claimant or Canadian citizen, you will be eligible. But regardless, please contact us because even if you're not one of those things, we can still provide some services as well.
Okay, so you CUA, it doesn't matter, but it's the Canada-Ukraine authorization
absolutely.
for emergency travel. So
my apologies.
Yeah.
So we have specific programs for Canadian or Ukrainians. So absolutely, please, you'll be contacted immediately. There's
Okay.
For Ukrainians.
Yeah. Okay, great. And one last question: is an expired WES assessment still valid for access in case I haven't improved my credentials later?
Yeah. We just need a record that you've done it. I'm not sure how it can be expired per se. If they approved it once, it's still valid unless you're adding new credentials. But
no, they're saying it's the same. So
yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay. So thank you so much for your time, Wilfred, and for answering all the questions. And those, sorry that we didn't get to all the questions, please do.
I'm sorry, I know I was talking too much, but
no, you were great information. So I'll be in touch as well to ask you questions. So, so next up to join us on the Canadian Immigrant Web Conference Series for internationally trained IT professionals, being offered in partnership with ACCESS Employment, is Rani Pense, the Senior Partner Development Manager, Global Partner Solutions at Microsoft. So welcome, Rani. It's great that you are able to join us today.
Thank you so much. This has been actually pretty interesting because I've been listening to what Wilfred's been saying, and it's deja vu.
Okay, so, we'd love for us to share any personal experiences you'd like to. So if you have any questions for Rani, please feel free to type them in the chat box, Q&A button. And if you have any issues with that, just email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So Rani, thank you so much for being here with us, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Ramya. I have to say it's about 25 years since I've been an immigrant, and I've been in India, Australia, Middle East, and before coming into Canada. So it was interesting really listening to everything that Wilfred had to say. My role is I'm a partner development manager. So I wanted to flag first off, I have no technical background. So I'm one of those that pivoted from a science background into technology. So I can even talk a little bit about that. Bit of context about Microsoft before I jump in, because I always find when people ask about Microsoft, they think it's either Azure or it's Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And Microsoft has quite a bit more than that. We're a 198 billion company, 221,000 employees worldwide. We build across cloud computing, so Azure, devices, gaming, business applications, if you like CRM and ERP, productivity, which is your Office 365, AI, IoT, operating systems. So there's quite a bit of breadth of solutions that Microsoft is engaged in, but other divisions that you may or may not know about, LinkedIn, GitHub, Xamarin, advertising, and some of you may also know Microsoft Research. So investments into agriculture, sustainability, into multiple industries. So very, very varied organization. And if you think about customer base, about 95% of Fortune 500 companies use Azure, 90% of Fortune 500 use GitHub. There's 73 million GitHub users. So if you're one of those that love open source, we have a great place for you. And with that said, what my role is in the Global Partner Solutions team, I work with our partners. So if you think about startups to any small business that's really expanding and growing, we help from a build technical perspective, marketing, sales, channel expansion. Really, the end goal is we're helping build innovation, and we're trying to help grow the top line revenue for those companies. In the end goal of that is we're really helping our customers transform. Now, my background, as I mentioned, I was in science. I was going to be a geneticist for a very long time. My whole family is doctors, so anyone that comes from an Indian background knows that two options are usually, do you want to be a doctor or do you want to be an engineer? So I flipped from science, I moved different countries, I've gone into research, I did admin work, so survival mode when I came into Canada, done marketing, product management, partnerships, and I did my postgrad in Canada to get over the hurdle of a non-Canadian degree. It's also something that I really wanted to study, so that was not the only reason that I went into that, but what really got me excited and the reason I joined Microsoft was the opportunity to really work with partners and expand that potential there. So before we get started into my full programming, I just wanted to give 2 minutes context around Microsoft because it might be an organization that you're thinking about joining. The mission and the culture for Microsoft are really the why and the how of how we run our business. The world view is the lens through which our strategy and focus is conceived. It indicates what we are focused on as a company, but it's also a very good indicator for what's happening in the tech industry. What we're seeing is an accelerated cloud growth. Wilfred touched on that. Cloud is really the way, the path forward. It is connecting and computing from edge to the cloud, AI integration across the spectrum, security built by design, so it's not an afterthought. What all of this actually means is tech intensity. And what I mean by tech intensity is you've actually got to learn a lot of new skills pretty quickly. And it's not just an immigrant thing. It is also a constant learning path for a lot of our Microsoft folks as well. You're constantly learning new things. You're figuring out new ways to apply it. That means you're innovating, and the tech intensity within the company is also really growing fast. You can innovate fast, you can learn fast. This ties into the culture that Microsoft and many of the larger organizations are really looking for, which is the cultural attributes, and you've probably heard this if you've gone for a bunch of interviews already, growth mindset. What it really means is just being ready to learn. It means you're open to ideas. Your idea is not the thing that you're holding on to and others can't touch it and you feel offended if someone said something bad about your idea. It's just really being open. So growth mindset is one of those things. Customer obsession is another. You're trying to identify problems. If you find something, do something about it. Being inclusive, being diverse, having shared goals to really achieve something together. You have an idea, ask for different perspectives. Let's take action. So from a people manager perspective, if that's something that you're really going into as a manager, the expectations is really coaching others. You're lifting others, you're caring about what happens to them, and you're modeling the behavior that you really want to see within that organization. From a leadership principle perspective, a lot of folks are really looking for someone that can simplify, really empower others. Let's change what we need to change together. This is the big focus within a lot of organizations, not just really Microsoft, but it's truly an embodiment of Microsoft culture of how we really look at people that we're trying to get into the organization. It's not just certifications, it's actually the mindset that you really want to do something, you want to learn something together, you want to help others grow. And that is actually worth its weight in gold more than certifications. The certifications you can always pick up. You can always get that experience, but not if you don't have the right approach. So a couple of stats. So people, if they don't know me yet, as you get to know me through this conversation, you will see I really love my stats. I love data. My background was science, so it's a lot of research, and I love getting a lot of content and then just summarizing it. So it comes down to when you're looking for jobs, everybody thinks about tech careers and tech companies. The left-hand side chart here really shows the jobs that are being posted for developers. If you see the tech posts, so actual tech companies posting jobs versus all the other organizations, you can see there's a very big shift in who's actually hiring for technical people. This is just to show that really every company is a tech company. Every company has tech innovation. So if you have a passion for certain industries, if you've really got background in that, do play that up as well. Because I had someone actually a long time ago tell me this. If you're trying to future-proof yourself, there's only two types of jobs that are ever going to be left in the world. Business-savvy technical people and tech-savvy business people. So it's not enough to just get certifications. You really need to understand your industry. It's not enough to just understand your industry. You need to be able to understand the data that's coming through. So both components are really equally important. I mentioned GitHub as an example. I wanted to flag that here as well. This 90% of Fortune 100 companies use GitHub. Just to put that in context as an example, 10% of the total workforce at Mercedes-Benz uses GitHub. So open source is very big. GitHub is a big portfolio that everybody looks at, especially from a tech field or developer field. That's one of the things that everyone really looks at from where do I find good skills. So the second piece I wanted to flag too is the low code, no code tools. There's a lot of training that we have available. Besides all the developer activities that you're doing, there is a lot of low code activity that's going on. So by 2025, you can see 70% of new applications are going to be deployed for the enterprise will use low code or no code tools. This is up from 25% in 2020. That's a significant jump. It actually tells you the path forward. And it's not just that it's taking away jobs from developers, but it's taking away things that you're not really interested in doing, but you have to do. So it's automating some of those tasks. It's helping you really, the pro developers get really, really good at what they're doing, and you're focusing on things that you really want to do. And if you have no tech background, then this is another way that you can really pick up skills and build. We call them citizen developers. We have a lot of those activities going on as well. So this was just to give some context into where you look for jobs. Don't forget your industries. There's a lot of great skills. And I wanted to repeat the GitHub piece in the next slide, because when I talk to people about what the future can hold and how you showcase yourself, LinkedIn obviously is a great place to do this, but the GitHub portfolio that you have is also a great place for others to find what you're doing. You know, an artist and the paintings, they have a portfolio. If you're a developer, that art portfolio is really GitHub. That's where we're looking at folks that really want to get into the developer side of the business. This is probably where I'm going to spend a little bit more time. And the way that I've put my slides together, I didn't want to overload it with PowerPoint. I just wanted to have a lot of opportunities for conversations here. So similar to what Wilfred is saying, I have a bunch of resources. These are direct links, and there's also the actual URL just listed underneath. So to give some context, Microsoft Learn, it's open for anyone. you can use your Hotmail or Gmail or whichever email it is and start using Microsoft Learn. There's a lot of training, learning paths, learning modules, certifications. This is obviously when you're looking for jobs, certifications make a difference. If you go through the site, if you already have certifications and you need to renew it, all of that information is actually available on the site. Wanted to flag this because even at Microsoft, this is the tool that we actually end up using. So we have a lot of training internally, many things, but when we think about the latest things that's available for everybody to learn, we actually go to Microsoft Learn. So I had no tech background. I came in through Microsoft Learn to do my learning, and this is what I continuously use as well. Open and free for anyone and everyone to use. We even have students using it all the way through to our, most of our developers going through this as well. The other thing I wanted to flag is Microsoft Reactor. So for those who are not familiar, we have our reactors, which is meetup groups for all of our tech community. There is actual physical locations around the world. I don't know if all of them have started doing physical events or in-person events, but there's a lot of virtual meetups as well. I flagged the reactor because this is where our tech community developers from all of our customers and all of our partners and students and everybody is actually going to. So this is where you're getting to network. So if you don't have a network, this is a great way to build your network in the tech community. It's also a great way to showcase some of the things that you're doing. So if you are looking at other organizations, they can actually see what you do. The people who may be hiring are seeing how you work together in projects. How do you collaborate? Even the quality of your code. So you don't really need to go do tests to prove the quality of your code. It's a great place to just find connection points. The third one, GitHub, I've also mentioned this. Great place if you're building something new, definitely a place for you to look at. Showcase your portfolio. There's a very active community, so participate in that regardless of where your location is. You can actually go in there, talk about your work that you're doing, something new that you're trying to build, ask for help on that, contribute to others' problems, or not problems, I should say solutions, support in other ways through GitHub. It also leads to a lot of other community events that you can get into where Microsoft has a MVP community. So it's the most valuable professional community. So someone that's really helping the community, you're getting nominated to be part of an MVP. These are all great designations to know, not just for Microsoft, but any organization that you're going into. It's what it's saying is you do quality work and you support others while you do it. You're open to learning. It's a great way to showcase the persona that you want to put in front of a company. LinkedIn, Wilfred mentioned this as well. I found my job at Microsoft through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has a couple of different things that I'd like to mention here. So one is obviously having a very professional profile. How you position yourself on that is really key. The other piece of that is you can actually write your own articles, you can curate content, you can follow others, you can connect with folks. But also when you think about the folks that you're trying to reach out to, it's also sometimes learning, building out that network. So to say that you may not have a network in another country, that's not going to stop you. This is one of the largest communities that we have of business professionals. Use it wisely, create who you are on LinkedIn as well. So if you have a resume and you have not updated your LinkedIn, that's actually a source of disconnect when a hiring employer is looking at your resume, and then it looks like you have something else completely different on LinkedIn. So those are things that I would say map it. And then obviously if you're reaching out, you see a lot of employers that are directly posting on LinkedIn saying, I'm hiring, I'm interested, so reach out to me. Do connect, but the one tip that I will say is do not just hit a connect button. When you're connecting with someone, always have a note, because everybody is getting pinged a lot, especially in some of the larger communities. And especially if you're a hiring manager, it looks like you're a hiring manager, you are in HR, or it's a company that's got a really active folks who are really posting on LinkedIn. They have a lot of presence. Everybody's trying to connect to them. So don't just hit connect. Say the reason for why you're connecting. And it's not that I want a job, I'd like to connect with you. It's more to say, I read your articles. I saw your profile. I'm interested in X, Y, Z in your company. I think you might be in that position. Could you give me some guidance? Your virtual coffee and chat, any which way that you want to, but with a note. Sometimes there is no context, and I can tell you there's a lot of people that I do not accept on LinkedIn simply because once I connect, usually the first question I get is, get me a job, or I can manage your wealth, or I'd like to sell you real estate. Like all these things which I'm not interested in. So if you know me, then you wouldn't have told me all those things. So I kind of restricted the type of people that I connect with just because I get a lot of spam, for lack of a better word. Again, coming to building your network, Microsoft Ignite is one of our big tech conferences. We have Microsoft Build, we have Microsoft Inspire. There's a lot of events and a lot of road shows that Microsoft does. There is no cost to attend any of these. And there is obviously two major benefits to attending tech events, Microsoft or otherwise. Generally, what I say is one is you continue your learning. You continue learning about the language in which people are talking about in that region. So it's not the way that you would certainly present some stuff. Maybe it's something else that you can pick up on how everybody's presenting. What is the language that they use to get across their story? The other piece is usually when you join these events, you get access to an attendee directory. Who's attending these events? Are they open to networking or not? Now, Microsoft Ignite event, usually there's like more than 100,000 people that's attending it. This is Microsoft plus a lot of our customers and partners. If there's any organization that you're trying to get into a company, chances are there's somebody from that company attending this conference. This is a great way for you to get in there, connect, and then be also able to have that conversation to say, just virtual coffee and chat. I looked at your company, I have these things that I'm interested in, I'd just love your perspective. Maybe it's just the culture that I'd really like to learn more about. So it's a great way to connect to folks when you go for tech conferences. I mentioned the increase in low-code development, so I've also put the link here for that, because even if you are not technical, you can actually learn some of these skills. You can build your own applications, you can have little widgets that you've built for yourself to make things easier for you. It's also a great thing that you can showcase when you're talking to an interviewer to say, here's something that I've just done myself. It's pretty easy to do. And so I have a growth mindset. I've just learned something new. This is kind of my tech background. That's one opportunity for you to showcase what you're doing. And again, I'd say, put this in GitHub, showcase it. So you have a way to amplify what you're doing. Now, all of these, I kind of mentioned it as a lot of tech events, but I also wanted to flag the Microsoft for Startups. So for people who are not aware, we do have a Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub M12, which is our venture organization besides Microsoft. So there is, if you have an idea that you're trying to build out, Microsoft for Startups has a Founders Hub. You can come with the idea, you must have a business plan, you're thinking about building something out. And it could be, usually there's a tech solution to it. That's another opportunity as well. Not everybody needs to go work for another company. You could be starting your own organization, and we support that as well. So all of those resources, and what I'd like to add on the last piece on this slide is really 3 tips from my side. And I mentioned that before with my LinkedIn comment. Don't connect and immediately ask somebody to look at your profile, find a job, give you a referral. Because at Microsoft, as an example, a lot of people have connected me and said, give me a referral for a job. So when we do referrals, at least this is what I found in Canada and in Microsoft, I have to actually say that I know this person because they've done X. I've shown them demonstrate these skills. I've seen their character on how they've supported and collaborated with someone. I have no context. I cannot give a referral. So it usually puts me in a very uncomfortable place when someone is saying, look at my profile, find me a job, because I don't know you. I don't know what you're interested in. I don't know what your career ambitions are. I don't know what's a priority in your thought process. Are you switching careers? Nothing. So you're putting a lot of pressure on me to do something for you, and I don't even have a relationship with you. So one tip, if you're connecting with someone, just get to know them first. Ask for things that anybody would be able to help you with, understanding the culture, 10 minutes about their experience in X company or in new to the country, any of that, but not immediately asking for stuff like this. Second thing, technical skills are great, but you have to have your storytelling and communications talent. So if you look at my background, I said I've gone from science to admin work, to marketing, to product management, to alliances. All through that, I've gone through different kind of companies. I've gone from working in a hospital to a university, to a manufacturing environment, to coming to a telco, then moving into a tech company. So all through this, when you look at it, it doesn't look like there's a connection point. But when I ask someone, like, if you really want to know what I did, I take a lot of data, I can synthesize it, get to the gist of it, and get action done. Now, this applies regardless of the industry and regardless of the role that you're talking about. If it's science, I had a lot of research papers, coming to the gist of what's done, how do I replicate it, how do I take my data and tell the story again. If I'm talking about marketing, there's a lot of marketing signals. How do I compress that? How do I come to the gist of that story? And what's the action I need everybody to take? Now, in my current role, when I'm looking at partnerships, there's a lot of internal information at Microsoft, external industry trends, what I'm having partners tell me. So I get to take all of that information, put it together and say, what's the action that we need you to take? How can I make you successful? So you can see now there is a common thread between everything. And I'm not talking about X certifications, or I'm not talking about all of the other things that I could do within an organization. In any job, you're probably doing 20 or 30 different things. But if you're going to the next job, you have to be very careful on how you curate what you want to do. A lot of people that have done social media or digital marketing or product marketing, when they come into Canada, they'll say, here's a list of everything I can do. Think about the audience that you're saying this to. They're trying to see how you would fit into their organization. Their role could be a digital marketing person or a social media person. And you're saying, I've done all of this stuff and more. It's hard to visualize you in that role. So yes, you can do 20 things, but curate it down to the 5 that really aligns to the job that you're applying for. So it's very obvious how you would fit into that organization. Don't make the hiring managers start asking a lot of questions to imagine you in that role. Make it easy for them to see that. The third thing, and this is something that I tell everybody, there's a lot of standardized titles. So don't look at job titles and just apply or eliminate yourself from it. Read the job description, because usually it goes into a lot of details on what's the actual work that you need to do. So at Microsoft, an example, you will find a lot of program manager titles. That means a lot of different things. You could be managing sales excellence. That's a program manager role. You could be managing a technical program, again, a program manager, or you're doing actual PMO type project management work. So read the descriptions. And then when you're telling your story about how you fit into that, make it very obvious versus just explaining that title and my title matches, or your title was something and it doesn't match this. Make sure that you've built that connecting story of how you fit the description of the job. The other thing I'd say is check the company news, people's profile that you're connecting to, what they post about, what is the company strategy, what's the news that they're talking about. If this is the future and focus of a company, can you align your story to how you're going to support that company in their mission? So add this into how you're talking about getting to apply for the company or even connecting with people when you're in the company. And the very last slide that I'm going to leave up for a second here is I'm always happy to talk about Microsoft. If anybody wants to join Microsoft, providing some guidance and feedback on that as well. And this is one of the things that really, really excited me about joining Microsoft. We always say that when you come to Microsoft, you are not looking for a place to go be cool, but it's really to help others become cool and do some great things together. So if you're interested, there's a lot of jobs posted at Careers at Microsoft. Please do check it out. One of the things I always tell people is if you see jobs that are listed with a specific city, it means that there is almost a provincial regulation that we're going to have X number of people literally physically in that space. So there may be space, or I should say regional requirements for a person to be in that. But when you see there's multiple locations, it usually means we're not tied to having X number of people in a specific place. So you could be sitting in Toronto or Ottawa or wherever it might be and working for a different region as well. So when you are, again, looking through the job descriptions, also look at the locations that it says, because we are a hybrid organization. So a lot of people are 40 to 80% of the time working from the office. A lot of times they don't. So it's not a problem that it's not asking you to physically go into an office, but just saying that in this case, there may be like a regional requirement to be in that place itself. So then I'm going to stop with the slideware, but I just want to make it open so that if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those questions as well. I don't know, Rami or anybody else, questions?
Yes, I'm just unmuting. Sorry, here I am. Thank you so much for that excellent presentation. And I think one thing I'd like to ask you actually is, or I've noticed is when you're adding someone on LinkedIn from your mobile phone, it does not give you the option to write a message. You say add and it just sends a request. So this is what I've noticed. So if you are actually writing to someone, maybe my app is not working, but if that is the case, just go online, go to your laptop, write that message that Rani just spoke about, an appropriate message, and send.
Yeah, if you're using the phone, you look at the three dot, it says personalized invite. It doesn't say write a note, it says personalized invite. It lets you connect with a note. But generally what I would always do, and I never try to connect just directly from a phone, I always try to use my desktop for that. And then if you're going at conferences and networking events, and you have your mobile with you, if you look at the search function on the top and you click at the search, there is a QR code functionality. You can show your QR code or you can scan somebody else's QR code. That's another great way for you to connect when you're doing at major large conferences as an example. And again, I have to be a little bit more specific on this. If Rami, you and I know each other, I'm very obviously had a conversation with you right now. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn without a note, I have context. I get that. But if you have never talked to somebody and you do a blanket, connect request, that's the problem.
Right. Good. This was a great presentation and a lot of advice for our listeners, especially if a lot of practical advice there. So thank you for that. So let's see, we have a few questions here. So once again, LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot for networking, but I often find I lose touch with my connections. Would you have suggestions to keeping in touch with my connections? I want to use my network to help me job hunt, but it feels bad when I haven't been in touch for a long time.
Yeah, and I love my data and analytics, so I'm going to give you a technical answer of how I do this. I actually have exported my LinkedIn requests or my LinkedIn connections. I have a little bit of a strategy on why I've connected with them. Some of them are because I am connected on a business sense with them, so I'm constantly in touch with the organization, and that's okay. There is some connection point in those. Some of the folks that I've connected, because I do a lot of campus discussions, a lot of students have connected with me. So part of that is I know who I really need to keep in touch with. Some of the others, they are there because if you think about the connect of or the networking within LinkedIn as well, it gets you access to their network. So it's not necessary that you need that person to connect with the next one, the second connection on that as well. The other way that I keep in touch with people is part of it is I know who are the people that I've connected with. And generally, I've said on my LinkedIn that I talk about healthcare, I talk about SaaS trends, employee wellness, or just people, career, self-development. So if these things are of interest, there is a lot of activity that I do get on LinkedIn because I curate the content. I post a lot about it. If you look, and I don't know if everybody has access to this on Sales Navigator, there is a way to look at your social selling index. It talks about how you're connecting with people, how you're building relationships. So based on that, I curate the content that I post. So instead of liking everything and commenting, every which random way, it just clutters up your feed. And the algorithm then starts sending a lot of those things. You're very curated in who you connect with and who you actually go and comment on their site. Now, the other thing is normally if you're looking...
To interrupt you, what was the name again of...
Sales Navigator. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I was just going to say too, normally if you want to find jobs, again, the way that I have done it is I have created what I call my motivation map. Which are the companies that I really want to work for? What are the type of roles that I really want to go for? What are the skill sets that I have? Some very specific, in which region, what titles. I have done all of that, and none of it is good or bad. So you can just pick whichever ones really matter to you. And on that, you have to do your research to say, which companies do I really want to go after? Again, it could be that you want to go after every company. That doesn't totally help. It's like saying, I want to build a solution that everybody will buy. It doesn't quite work that way. So you're very targeted on, here's the 10 companies that you really want to go after. In those 10 companies, who do I have in my network? those are the people that I really need to build my relationship with. So you're being very specific on who you're going after at what time. You can't be friends with everybody on LinkedIn. So that's something that you have to plan for as well.
Okay, great. But there are some, companies, not companies, like the government, for instance, will get you on the database, will put you there on a roster, and will wait till a position comes up. But in that case, I'm not sure how much LinkedIn, having this strategy really helps, because there are also rules that different organizations like the government has.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's not one strategy that truly will work. And by the way, when I first came to Canada, I applied as well. And there was a government position that they interviewed me for, said they'd put me on the list for any opportunities that come. That was 25 years ago. I never got a call back. So the databases, I'm not too sure about, but I'd say obviously apply, stay on databases, targeted strategy on LinkedIn, go to networking events, do your certification, post about yourself. So there's got to be multiple things that you do. And this is not I want to get into a job in Canada type thing. This is what you will constantly do, because you are going to be successful only if you build your network internally and externally in a company, different industries. So just as an example, if you worked in oil and gas, that's gone bust because there's not enough jobs. How do you pivot? If you start building your network at that stage, you're already behind your game. So you should be doing that constantly. I mean, in this case, I don't know that tech will ever go away, but that's a constant thing that you have to do as well.
Okay, great advice. Thank you for that. How can we develop the storytelling skill you mentioned? It's a very broad question.
Yeah. One is there is a lot of learning courses that's there. A lot of free stuff that is available on site. I'd say even through LinkedIn, when you look at LinkedIn Learning, there's courses on how to communicate. Part of this is practice too. So if you go and I've done this multiple times, because if you're in sales, as an example, people ask for your elevator pitch. So when you're doing an elevator pitch, give me 10 seconds of who you are, what's my benefit of talking to you. Practice it. And honestly, I've gone for so many events where I've practiced that in different variations with different people, because I always looked at it as, well, if they don't like me, that's okay. I practiced it and I can see what reactions I got of it, and I'll keep making myself better at it. So I constantly keep doing that. So I'd say lots of courses, LinkedIn Learning, practice, practice, practice.
Okay, great. That's great advice. And the other thing is, you can also set up Zoom meetings these days, right? You meet somebody, you find them interesting, you think you have enough of a connection there, you can invite them to speak with you for 15 minutes on Zoom, and they might jump on. They might be willing to help a newcomer and provide advice as well. So that's another thing.
We have a lot of that coffee chats. Sorry, I may have just talked over you there, but yeah, team meetings, Zoom meetings, any of that, absolutely. My one advice on that one is I've had a lot of people that said too, like, hey, 15 minutes chat. Great. Give me some context. So when you ask for a 15-minute chat with someone, I heard you speak at this, or I saw your article on that, or I looked at your profile and your background seems to be you've done X, Y, Z. I'd like to learn more about finding a job in Canada, or I'd like to move into tech and I have no tech background. Or it could be, I'm looking at Microsoft, I saw these jobs, I really want to understand the culture and the jobs that they posted there. Give some context to what you're asking somebody to do, because again, if you think of it, you don't want to spend 15 minutes with someone that'll forget you as soon as the phone is down. This is part of how you build a relationship, to say that you have been mindful about how you reach out to someone.
And then here's the answer to, like, how do you keep in touch? Follow up and say, thank you for your time. Like a lot of people, who invite me for calls will, talk to me, and then I won't hear from them again. And they'll write to me 2 years later when they need something. And I'm thinking they didn't even send me a thank you email for my time. And I think these are little things that do matter,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll wrap up now. If you have any other questions for Rani, please share this with us and we'll forward it on to her. So thank you so much. And I want to end by thanking our partner, ACCES Employment. because this series is organized in partnership with ACCES Employment. Special thanks, of course, to Wilfred and to Rani for sharing your personal experiences as well as your professional expertise with everyone. So much appreciated. So if you missed anything, yeah, it's great to have you. Thanks for making time. So if you missed anything, this is being posted on our website and also on our YouTube channel, and you can rewatch. I'm going to rewatch because I took notes. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, like things so, just go back, watch this presentation. And if you have any questions, you can email us at info@canadianimmigrant.ca. So our next webinar is on the 29th of September on starting your own business. Maybe you're an IT contractor, and if you're not finding the perfect job for you, you could think about starting your own business. Well, so anyway, so that is our next web conference. Feel free to sign up, find out more, and join us for the web conference. So thank you to everyone, and it is a pleasure to meet all of you virtually. Okay, take care.